Hey everyone, this is Rick. We're going to take a look at Amazing Spider-Man number 148 today, and we're going to clean and we're going to review this book. So what's happening here is that this book, if you look at it closely, has lots of wrinkles in it. I mean, the spine is a complete wreck. The back is very dirty. So we're going to clean it up and make it less of a pile of garbage, and we'll just review it a little bit too. So first of all, what's happening in this book is that Peter, the Gwen clone came back. There's a Gwen clone, and it's been, the last couple years of this book have been Peter and angst about the Gwen being dead, and the clone came up 4 issues ago, and and Mary Jane and he have started up a relationship. So it's a great book. It's another great Jerry Conway, Ross Andrews story, which are some of my favorite. I bought this for $25 a long time ago, and it starts off with the jackal and the tarantula and the clone of Gwen Stacy throwing Peter off of the bridge, the same bridge that that they threw Gwen off of, and Jackal chucks him off the edge, leaves his web shooters and his mask on, of course, and he says, "Well, amigo, you have done it. This is the end of Spider-Man. Ta-ta, web slinger. We're going to miss you. Don't forget to write." Okay. So they throw Spider-Man off, and he tumbles down, as you see here, and he manages to shoot something with his webbing, and then he hangs a little bit, and he sort of swings here. And is in a precarious position afterwards. That's the crux of what's going on here. So then Peter gets his swings himself out of the way. The cops are coming to get him, and the Jackal has this scene where he has a jetpack stored in Gwen Stacy's raincoat to be fully assembled. He takes some time to assemble it because the cops are watching him here. So he takes some time to assemble this thing. And it's really just strange that he assembles it, and then the tarantula says, "But Senor Jackal, it has no fuel." "Tarantula, you insult me. Gwen, your purse, please." Hands him the purse. Got some solid fuel capsules. I mean, they spent an awful lot of time exposing how the Jackal outthinks all this stuff, and Gwen doesn't realize she's carrying 130 pounds of jetpack components in her jacket the whole time. Doesn't look weird on her at all. So, and then the cops are telling him to come down, and Jackal says, "You see, my South American colleague, I've anticipated every contingency. A jetpack within the girl's coat and solid fuel capsules in her handbag. Come, Tarantula, let us away." So Tarantula, with no training at all, but seemingly knowing how to assemble and use a jetpack, flies him off, and then Spidey gets, the cops are coming to pick him up from under the bridge. Then they capture him, and this is some fun stuff here. This is something I really like, I enjoy, is the cops are saying, "Well, should we take his mask off?" And the cop says, No, are you crazy? There'll be TV cameras on the dock, and reporters will want to stage an important unveiling. I've always wondered how I'd look on TV. He's like straightening his tie and shaking his head back and forth. And then the commissioner's waiting for him, and they're all really excited. And then the next thing you know, Spider-Man breaks the bonds and jumps off into the ocean. I guess he was just waiting for the right time. I don't know. And then he decides to just machine gun him, like in cold blood. And then here's the commissioner just laying into him, just bitching this guy out. He says, "I hope you buy your shoes wholesale, Arbuckle, because you'll be pounding a beat for the next 20 years. He's with this chagrin on his face. It's classic. And then this is the part I really like down here. Around in this issue, let's remember that Peter and Mary Jane shared their first kiss in Amazing Spider-Man number 143, just before Peter was to depart to Paris for an assignment, and they kissed spontaneously. And it was sweet, and they say nothing will ever be the same for these two again, period. A little side note is they mention how empty the airport is because of fuel prices during the OPEC crisis at this time. And so They had a little bit of privacy, and they spooched it up. A lightning bolt struck, and they sort of give it a couple pages to let it sort of sink in what this means to us. And this was about 5 issues previous to this current issue. In Amazing Spider-Man 144, Aunt May is in a restaurant with Aunt Anna Watson. They see Gwen's clone walking down the street. Aunt May passes out, has a stroke, whatever. She's in the hospital. And then the next issue, 145, Peter returns from Paris, expecting Mary Jane to meet him, but she's not there. He doesn't know why. She's at the hospital with Aunt May. He goes up to his apartment, and there's a clone of Gwen Stacy. So that complicates issues a little bit for everybody. Some effort to make sure we know that this is Gwen, has same fingerprints and everything, but that Gwen's body's still in the casket. They can't figure it out. Things were left hanging between him and Mary Jane, so there's a bit of an awkward moment there. So that's a little prelude to what we're seeing now. Here, you'll see that this part with Peter comes home and hears Mary Jane in her bell bottoms and pumps, and she's reading Love magazine and just waiting on the steps, looking gorgeous as ever between the trash bags outside on the street in the early 70s New York City. And she says, "Well, if it isn't Peter Parker, the lonely girl's friend." "Oh, hello, Mary Jane. Hey, the man remembers my name." And remember, they're still friends here, but they're kind of sweet on each other. And then she says, "For a while there, I thought you'd forgotten, fella, or at least my phone number. What's wrong? Gwen Stacy take all of your free time up these days now that she's back?" And it says Gwen returned in issue 144, Len. Now it's interesting to see this, because if you see some other discussions between Peter and Gwen from, say, if you go back to like issue 80 or something, you'll see something like, it'll say something like, you'll have Gwen saying, "Oh, the man remembers my phone number. I don't know." There's the same exact sort of banter, but Mary Jane gets a lot more jealous. She's a lot more angry at him when she doesn't get his attention, which I think it's interesting. It's good character development. And Mary Jane in this book she's mad, and anybody who says that Mary Jane is the original Gwen Stacy clone is just wrong. She behaves completely different than Gwen, and their relationship is much more exciting. So she reads, "Say, you look pooped out, Tiger. Guess Blondie's been keeping you up late at nights, right? Come on, Parker. I'm giving you a chance to defend yourself. Or can't you think of something sweet and endearing?" So she's really prompting him. I mean, she's really trying to get his goat and push his buttons. "Listen, can we talk about this some other time? Friend, we're talking about it now, today, this minute. I had a long talk with your Aunt May the other night, and that lady hit the nail straight on the head. She told me, if you want to keep a man, you got to fight for him." And so this is, they're endearing her to Aunt May as well, which is something that Gwen didn't do nearly as much as that Peter is. Mary Jane's really into the family. "And buddy, I'm fighting. Consider this a declaration of war. Snap out of it, man. I'm talking to you. Okay, so something freaky is going on with Gwen or whoever that chick is. Okay, I understand that. Got it? I understand. So that's swell, MJ. But what I'm saying to you is this. It's her or it's me. Either you get yourself together, or I'll get you together myself. Are you listening to me?" And then he slams right in her face, which was, of course, not great. So it's interesting because of all these supporting characters, we have Ned Leeds here. We have, Peter just taking a bath, doing regular stuff. This is in, I think, September of 75. And so in December of 76, they'll start. Jerry Conway himself will be doing Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, and Tarantula will be in that first issue. And they will spend a lot more time with all the supporting cast stuff, but this is pre that, so it's building up. Peter decides to take a bath, so that's something we get to watch. And of course, he thinks Mary Jane's coming back, and Ned Leeds shows up, and he's knocking on Peter's door instead of calling or whatever, and he says, "Hey, I'm solving this mystery of the Gwen Stacy clone," and he goes through to describe why he knows that it's got to be somebody who's got access to her tissue, and he's figuring out it's a clone. So they go talk to the professor. He's groovy. people walking around their this plaid suit. So, you go talk to the professor. The professor says, hey, that's odd. The specimens are gone. Gone? He's really a sympathetic character. He's saying, hey, we do have some specimens. We keep them in this fridge here with the lemon juice and stuff, the Chinese food, because it looks like a normal household fridge. And then he tells a story about this guy, Anthony Serba, gives Peter, who might have had access to him, gives Peter the address of the place, and then sends him off. But assuming Peter would contact Spider-Man. So then Serba, it's some interesting insights here. He says, Serba seems to be one of those pathetic guys, the kind who devotes himself entirely to their work to the exclusion of everything else. He gets that from the fact that the guy's work file somehow says he has no known interest in it, which is weird. But I'll just take one interlude here momentarily. It says, this letters column is great. It reads, unfortunately, Jerry, your writing since taking over Spidey has been hit and miss. At times, such as Gwen and Goblin's death, your writing is unbelievable. At other times, you've completely fallen flat. But with the last 10 issues or so, especially in the last one, 144, a grand and complex set of situations has been brewing, during which time the book has been no less than sensational. That's a little foreboding for the sensational Spider-Man, I think. But anyway, it's good. It's a good letter. And Peter shows up at this place. He says, oh, this isn't much of an address. It's an old abandoned factory. Spider-Sense not helping him at all. There's the tarantula waiting for greetings, amigo. Shall we finish our business? We shall finish our business. See, Peter, I don't know that there's a dude there with a Spider-Sense. And it's one of those things that they tend to turn off and on whenever they need it. Also, his ability to crawl walls seems to be off and on too. Like, he should be on the ceiling crawling around on the walls in a situation like this. So they fight, and then here, I like this part. Peter says, this is like playing football with a blindfold on. I got to get us out. So I have to time this judo throw just right. Like, knows judo? Right, so he's, hey, Gringo, are you trying to kill us both? And then they fight it out. Spider-Man bashes him on the face. Then, let's see, no one can survive Tarantula's sting. And anyway, out of nowhere, he somehow the Jackal with Gwen Stacy and Ned Leeds is on the same roof that Peter threw him to. Just happened to be there. He's got these two people tied up. He cuts the back of Spider-Man's head, knocks him out. And Peter says, why does my Spider-Sense not work? I don't know, it wasn't working 5 minutes ago and it didn't bother you. But Jackal pulls his mask off and he goes, after all, your famed Spider-Sense only protects you against enemies and not friends, which I don't know how he knows that. But, and dear boy, haven't I always been your friend? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it works. His Spider-Sense works if a friend decides to come up and knock him out and drug him. And then they reveal that Professor Warren is the Jackal. And so this is the start of the whole Clones. Well, it's the middle of the whole Clone Saga thing. So that's coming up soon. Interesting note here. Stan writes, on February 20th, 1975, early in the morning, the comic book industry lost one of its foremost talents. Artie Simek died. For some 30-odd years, the majority of his life, Artie produced a veritable mountain of work, gained a reputation for being true and professional. He was one of the cornerstones in building the mighty world of Marvel, and his efforts cannot be ignored. For those of us who are privileged to know Artie, he was a valued friend, a unique personality, and an irreplaceable co-worker. He will be missed. So that's a sad little note there, and more Stan's soapbox stuff. But anyway, it was still a fun issue. There's some pretty glaring writing, lazy writing stuff going on, but it's a fun issue, and we will clean it up and see what it looks like when we're done. So let's take some of this soap solution that I put together, and we're going to start wiping the back off here. So this area right here, we're just going to wipe it. And the first wipe doesn't usually get it all off. It has to sort of stay wet for a few minutes, and then we come back and wipe it again, and then it usually comes out. The pages will wrinkle up. I'm getting some out. I'll do the same thing on the front here. People have warned me a lot about removing gloss. At least in these Bronze Age books, it doesn't seem to be the case. Gloss doesn't seem to come out. Let's see here. So we're just wiping this down, and we'll let this dry for a while. Oh yeah, okay. I'm getting some of the dirt out now. And this, for me, this beats spending the whole day with an eraser trying to get just the white lines out. And so I'll just take and open this up and let it dry and air the side up for a little bit before I put it in the press, and then we'll see what it looks like. So here's what it looks like when we're all done. It's it's never going to be a pretty book, but it's a little smoother. It's a little cleaner. Back is still got some dirt on it, but it looks better. Looks better than it did. It's a little bit glossy, actually, even though it's surprising. This part, so yeah, not terrific, but pretty good. That's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care.